Beshbarmak, one of Kazakhstan's most well-known and historical dishes. Ask anybody and they'll know what Beshbarmak is. So this is exactly why we'll be teaching you how to cook Beshbarmak in today's video. To begin, we're going to need about 2 kilograms of sheep meat, which we can find in our local butcheries or simply going out and hunting for it yourself. The meat will then be placed in our pot. Proceed to pour enough water to where it fills the entire pot, allowing the entire piece of meat to be submerged under the water. From here, we're going to turn up the heat and we're going to let the meat boil for about 2 hours and a half. During that time, we'll be doing a few other things. We are now going to gather everything that will be going into our garnish, starting off with a few leaves of basil, a pinch of pepper, and about a tablespoon and a half of salt. Oh, and not forgetting a half chopped onion. During cooking at high heat, some of that water comes back out of the meat, and with the water is a small amount of sarcoplasmic protein. At high temperatures, that protein denatures and assumes a foamy, puffy appearance. It is important that you're constantly removing this at a regular basis. Next up, we have some vegetables that will be going along with the dish. Starting off with some green onions, which we will need to wash and chop into little bits. Next up, we will need 2 onions that will be grated into a smaller separate pot just for the vegetables. And let's not forget to include the chopped up green onions. We are now going to add about 5 to 6 tablespoons of pepper and about 1 single tablespoon of salt. Now we are going to be making our noodles. We will need about 2 eggs, 400 grams of flour, and some salted water. Start off by carefully adding in the flour into the bowl. Actually, never mind, just dump it all in. Once all the flour is in the bowl, crack your 2 eggs and have them right in the middle of the bowl. Before making the dough, we will need to wash our hands. Now, things might be getting a little messy, so don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. We're going to be mixing the egg with the flour whilst pouring in our salted water slowly at the same time. We're going to continue mixing and kneading our mixture until it starts to harden and we end up with something like this. And a quick check on our meat, and as we can see, the meat is beginning to brown, so progress is being made. But don't forget to remove the foam. Anyways, back to the noodles. We're going to continue kneading our dough whilst adding flour as it will make it easier to knead, until we end up something smoother and to a shape of a deformed ball. Beshbarmak also includes potatoes, and in our dish, exactly 5. We're gonna go ahead and peel the skin off with our knives, and do be careful whilst using one. Once they are cut, wash them out under the sink and put them at the side for now. We will return to them later. Going back to our meat, we are now going to add in the garnish that we made at the beginning to now add some flavor. Now, take the vegetables that we made some time ago, and take some of the soup to add some extra flavor. Now put the pot of vegetables under the heater of the stove and let it boil. Going back to our dough, we're gonna start making the noodles. Start by cutting the dough into thirds. With each third of the dough, we're gonna roll it out into a flat piece, then cut it up into our noodles. Don't forget to add flour so it doesn't stick to the surface. Once we have our flat piece of dough, we're going to take our knife and cut them into small pieces like this. You can make them into however big or small you want them to be. Depends on you. Once cut up, store them somewhere so they wouldn't get damaged. In our case, we have some sheets of thin paper. Don't forget that you will need to repeat this process for the other 2 pieces of dough. Once done, by now we should have hit the 2-hour-and-a-half mark. So it's time to take our meat out where we can just keep it on a big plate. We will then take the potatoes that we cut up and washed and put them in the same water that the meat was cooking in. As of right now, we have these 2 big pieces of lamb meat, which aren't really bite sizes, so we're gonna need to tear them into smaller pieces as this will make it more convenient to eat. After about 10 minutes or so, we're gonna take our potatoes out of the water, and well, by now they should have this bright and shiny yellow to it. Approaching the finish line, we're gonna take our pieces of raw noodles and we'll carefully dump them in the same pot of water in which the meat and the potatoes were cooking in. Just a quick update on the vegetables, and they seem like they're almost ready but could still use a few more minutes. After about 10 minutes, we're gonna scoop out all the noodles and place them into our serving plate. We are then gonna put the cut up meat on top of the noodles, and then our potatoes right on the side, and finally, the vegetables. And there you go, that is how you make our traditional Kazakh Beshbarmak dish.